So we've shot the interview, we've now got the narrative elements of our film. What I want to do, especially when we're tight on time, is establish the scene and then get lots of tight shots. So let's just try and find a nice establishing shot. What I want to do is just position Michael in the scenario. And this can be tricky, especially when you leave your tripod bag in shot. So I'll move that. Okay. Check my focus. Now what I want to be paying attention to here is some continuity. Mike's baiting his hook and then he's going to cast. And what I want to do is let the shot run through that entire action. And that way I can use this shot at any time. So I've framed with Balmoral in the background. He's casting on his left hand forward. And I'm letting that shot run, and that gives me plenty of options. What I can do from here, which is a useful shot, is just crash in and do that. So from exactly the same position, I've got him with the rod in the air. Open up my exposure slightly. And this is a kind of classic frame within a frame. I'm using the white of the fence to frame him in shot. Now from this point here, I'm actually going to go handheld, because as we've spoken about in previous chapters, when you're really up against it time-wise, Mike's got to go to work, so he's got a definite time when he has to be away. So what we can do is shoot handheld and get lots of detail shots, and that way we can build a sequence even if we get nothing else. So let's wander down and have a look at that. I'm going to just look for shots like his spinner there, the tackle, nice and tight. Another great shot is right on the end of the rod, like so. And while I'm here, spin round, get a nice big close-up of his eyes. A full face shot. And then sort of human interest, it's like, you know, shot of the sunglasses, watching my shadow. And all these cutaways can tell a story. And then down to his feet. And then while I'm here, come back and get on the deck. Real rule of thirds this, you know. 2/3 of the, it's more than, probably almost splitting the frame, but it's 2/3 probably top of frame. And then we've got the out of focus area on the wood. And just wait till he comes back into frame. Cutaway of the tackle box. And in sunshine like this, you got to be mindful of your own shadow. And then a shot of the bucket with his one bit of catch in there. Get tighter in on that. And while I'm here, come round, take advantage of any solid items you can use to stabilize the camera. I'm going to do a different angle on him there. And then you can come out wide and get a nice mid shot. And and then he'll repeat the action of putting the bait on the hook, so you can shoot this from a different angle. And being handheld, you can follow the action. And down for a shot of his eyes. So it's like watching what he's doing. Counting 3, 4, 5 seconds. And then come back to this position on a wide. And even move in while he casts his rod. Now, I wouldn't recommend trying to follow the rod at this stage until you're comfortable you've got enough footage of everything else that's going on. I feel like I'm getting quite a lot of footage here. I'll pick up some more cutaways. We've got a box of hooks here. And these are all the detail shots. And I can use some creative composition. So I'm allowing this white of the box here to cut through frame. Shooting at f4. So not super wide open. IS is on the lens, so we're getting nice stable shots. Just see some people swimming in the back of shot. They're doing over the shoulder, which locates where Mike is. And we can crash in for a tighter shot of the swimmers. And while we're here, again, using more creative composition, breaking the frame, creating some layers, stacking as we've discussed. And you can move the camera a little and pull focus, just pulling focus from the near part of the rod up to the end. And by moving ever so slightly, you add a bit of dynamism to the shot. So now let's start thinking about any other creative shots. Here we go. See, there's a fish on the hook. And this 17-55 is great for this because you've just got this ability to go wide and tight, and just tight enough that you're able to hold focus and keep the action in the frame. And never feel you have to rush anything. You know, there's plenty of time. And then let that move out of frame, and then come back onto the wide. Maybe frame in here. He was keeping an eye on not falling into the harbour, and kind of a tight shot as he casts. And that gives us some variety from the wide shot. So now I'm going to wander down here and just do some more creative establishing shots. Maybe shoot through here. And actually I can lean the camera on the post. And then go in tighter, maybe lean the lens here and just get a shot of his face. And then again. And then what we do is think, well, what else did Mike talk about? He talked about baiting the hook, we've got that. He talked about catching the fish, we've got a shot of the fish. The piece he was talking about, the larger fish, that's probably not going to be used because that would involve us shooting sequences of B-roll that have him putting the spinner on, and we'd leave ourselves very open to it going wrong because there's no guarantee we're going to catch one of those bigger fish. So I think we're almost at a point where we have enough. What I'm going to do now is just go back up here and just shoot some more master wides and mids to give us a bit more positioning. So let's go and do that. So I now feel that I've got enough footage and material to cover the main action. Notice how I haven't used the slider, I've barely used the tripod. In a high time pressure environment, it's more important that you stay nimble. And what you notice is that when I'm handheld, I'm able to move and adjust as the action changes in front of me. But now what we can do is Mike's got to go very shortly, so if he has to leave now, I've got enough. But what I can do is use this time to just capture as many other extra shots as I can. So first of all, let's wander around here, come all the way back, and just do a nice big wide establisher, because this to me is the extra sizzle that if I've got time. Okay, so we can just zoom in for focus, and that's a really nice wide establisher that really sets the scene, and we can just let that run. And even look at a pan, because we've got a seagull there, really establishes how hot it is. And then we can be mindful of the composition and the continuity, is keep the shot static. And Mike's baiting up, so we can do a little pan. And so without a slider, you can add a bit of cinematic movement just by panning the camera slightly, and we've got that whole action now on the wide. So we've got that action of baiting up and casting 3 times on 3 different angles, plus all the detail. So that will cut really nicely. Now I'm going to do some cutaways of other fishermen. Nice big wide shot there. Oh, there we go. He's got a fish, so we're going to come off the tripod, handheld. There we go.
Not massive, but it's a fish.
And then we'll sit over here as it pops into the bucket. So that's an example of being in a position with a quick release plate on your tripod to drop what you're doing and grab that action. So we can go back up now and finish what we were doing. But having a zoom lens like the 1755 allows you great flexibility to do that. That would have been virtually impossible to do on a prime lens. So let's take some cutaways of. And you know, it's always worth having some safe, generic images. And do a little move. Little pans like that can be very useful, both from Mike onto the water and from the water back onto Mike. And while we're here, we can shoot through and get these fishing boats. And then swing round and locate the beach, and then swing round again and get some people coming down the jetty. So, you know, and we do this in the 10-minute B-roll challenge. One position you can get a lot of footage, and the longer you have here, the more you see. And you think, well, okay, there's a lady with a kid on the beach there. Is that worth shooting? Well, you know, we're here, we're in position, there's no reason why we can't. So I think I'm pretty happy that I've got most of what I need from the main section. Now what I want to get is some just generic cutaways of things like a seagull, and I'm still going to try and frame it with a bit of some stacking. I missed him. So that happens, you know, when you're dealing with wildlife. The lady shouted and the bird flew off, but not a big problem. Here we're back. Get a shot of this sign, which looks a bit weather battered. And generic statics like this can be cut in almost anywhere. And actually, that lady might make quite a nice shot now. There we go. Watch the exposure. And then the other thing I'm noticing, and the more time you spend in a location, the more you see. So we've got the fishing license legal size limits. So what we can do is do a couple of shots of that. These are relevant shots to fishing. Do a nice big static wide like that. And then we can look for the actual fish Mike was talking about, and there's a bonito there. So we can do a shot of that. And then there's our mate back. Now notice at this stage I haven't even changed lenses. What I might do now is put on the long lens and shoot some real close-up work. So I've got the 70-200 on now. Most of what I shoot I can do on a 17-55. Once we've got the essential stuff done, then we can start looking at some of the detail. So, you know, we've got a nice shot here of this seagull. Open that up a little bit. Just let him be in frame. Nothing says hot, sunny seaside than a seagull sitting on a post. So we've got that. Now we can use this lens to pick out some other detail. Let's see what we can get. Of Mike there, up to his head there. And then I want to spin around and get some boats. Just getting some cutaways of boats, harbour vistas. You can never have too many cutaways, I feel. So, you know, the more you've got, the more choice you've got. And, you know, we've got the main aspects that we need now. So this is all bonus material. It gets much tougher to follow action when you're on a longer lens, especially if it's moving around. But you can just let it play out in frame. And having a great fluid head tripod means you can just keep repositioning the camera subtly get what you need. While I'm here, pick off some shots of the hills and the houses, and, you know, lock it off the camera and just let it play static. Oh, it's a big one here. Something's happening. Now this gets very tricky to follow the action because we're on a tighter lens. But you can see there's something on there. Now I wouldn't recommend taking the camera off the tripod at this point and trying to go handheld on a 70mm lens.
Looks like I've got a big fish though.
So if you're in a position like this where something's happening and you're on too long a lens and you don't have time to change lenses, then just pull the camera back, maybe come down in height. Because it might just be that his rod's stuck, but it might be that it looks like he's got a big fish and we don't know at this stage. And so you want to get into a position where you can actually cover the action. I think it's just stuck on a rock or something. So a couple more wide shots of the vistas. And I'd say we've got enough. You know, knowing to stop when you've got enough is really important. One of the things you can do is you can shoot all day because it's a pleasurable thing to do. But we know we've just got to cover the action that's been spoken about. And so knowing to stop and get back and cut it is really important. So let's now pull that into the edit suite and I'll talk you through the shots we've acquired and how we might cut that together.